Hey everyone, welcome back to Unrestrained. This is our first show of the new year, and I guess we don't have anything to talk about because nothing has happened in the first week of 2021. Yeah. Obviously, first of all, we gotta discuss what happened at the U.S. Capitol. Um, I just before I start explaining exactly what happened, in case you live under a rock, um, when Pearl Harbor happened, FDR said it was a day that will live in infamy, and I think that a lot of people will categorize what happened on the 6th in more or less the same way because the 6th of January was supposed to be the day that the Vice President, Mike Pence, was going to read the electoral votes. And Trump was pressuring him sort of to only read his electoral votes and not read Biden's. And I should say that only reading Trump's and not reading Biden's wouldn't change the result of the election, but Trump thought it would. He was wrong, obviously, and he held a rally outside the White House, and he basically told people to march to the Capitol to protest the reading of the electoral votes, and they did exactly that, but with the added caveat that they invaded basically the Capitol. They broke windows. They got inside the Capitol, inside the offices of prominent senators and congressmen. A lot of them were armed, and congressmen and senators had to basically hide in their offices and under their desks because they were fearing for their lives, because basically we had a violent attempted coup of the US government, because we had Trump supporters who could not accept the fact that their guy lost, essentially. And I remember I was watching CNN live as it happened, and I just remember being completely shocked because, I mean, it's just, I I don't even know what to say. It's just absolutely horrendous what happened. And yeah, what are your thoughts, Skye? Because it's just too hard. What was the experience like for you? What was it like for you?
Yeah, well, I was at work all day. And so I didn't know anything was going on until I got home and I got in bed and I got on Instagram and I saw this post by Viola Davis, and um, it was like a screenshot of a Twitter caption or whatever, and it was like, "Black people, this is not your job. Like, stay at home, stand by, let America deal with what it's done." And I was like, what the fuck? Like, is something going on now? What is this? And so I kept scrolling through my timeline on Instagram And I saw all these posts like the Capitol was being stormed, and then there were like videos, and I was like, is this real? Is this real life? So of course I had to go to Google and find out like, yeah, this is exactly what's happening, and this is what's going on. And it was just crazy to see like all of these white people, all like they don't even have to be white, but like all of these people storming the Capitol, right? Climbing over walls, going in the fucking building and like messing shit up, and the police not doing anything about it. It was just absolutely mind-blowing to see that, especially given what's happened like over the summer at peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, like people being shot, people being tear gassed, people being harassed, people being killed. And then we have these people literally destroying or trying to destroy the foundation of American democracy, or like American democracy, and nothing. And I was like, wow. Wow, it was very telling.
It's insane, like the disparity of how black protesters are treated and white protesters are treated, right? It's like, I mean, the police, like, just in many cases, they just let them in.
They did.
They
They did.
let them storm the Capitol. They
They
took
opened the
selfies with
gates.
them.
They did. They did.
Literally, they took selfies with the insurrectionists who were trying to overthrow the US government.
They did, and it's laughable because it's fucking disgusting. Like, I cannot. And then I just want to say, like you said, between the protesters, like these people, they weren't protesting. They were Black Lives Matter, that's a protest. These folks were literally trying to overthrow the fucking government. They were insurrectionists. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Treasonous,
I
treasoners.
mean, the, like, I would also call them domestic terrorists.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, because, like, think about it. The definition of terrorism, the textbook definition of terrorism, is violence for a political or religious motive. What else would you use to describe what happened other than domestic terrorism? And yes,
Precisely.
Donald Trump is a terrorist.
Precisely. And it's so wild. I know you didn't bring this up yet, but like his Twitter got banned and his Facebook got banned. And it's like,
Yeah.
bro, this should have been done fucking 4 years ago. Like this has been building up. He has been inciting this violence for 4 whole years and even longer. Like, let's be honest, like this should have been done.
Yeah, I
He is
mean,
a terrorist.
like in the campaign in like 2016, 2015, he said, like, if there are protesters, hit them in the face, I will pay your legal fees. He literally said that. He literally said, punch them in the face, I will pay your legal fees.
And that's not terrorism. Like that wasn't a red flag for it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like it like it was horrifying. It was absolutely appalling to watch, but it was also completely predictable. It was completely predictable. And the fact that the DC police weren't better prepared to resist these insurrectionists, like, our military budget is $740 billion, and the Capitol was overrun in 20 minutes by the Duck Dynasty guy and some dude wearing a Chewbacca suit. It's ridiculous.
It's so funny.
It's so stupid, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so horrible that this happened. And imagine for a second these were Black Lives Matter protesters. I mean, we don't have to imagine.
We don't have to imagine at all.
Like 14,000 people were arrested in the George Floyd protests. They were maced. They had pepper spray. They were shot. All that stuff. And the US Capitol was overrun by people who wanted to overthrow the US government. And all Black Lives Matter people were saying was, please stop shooting us.
Please stop killing us. Please give
Yeah.
us a chance to live. Please. That's it. They said please, right? They weren't they were begging. And these motherfucking people were out here like, no democracy. Oh my God. Yo, I heard this funny joke. And it's fun. It was like, so what took the Capitol Police so long to get to the Capitol building? And it's because they had to go home and change. Didn't
Oh my God. And but we
oh, I feel like that's true.
yeah, like, but we also know what took them so long, because um they asked the Department of Defense to call in the National Guard, and the Department of Defense said no.
Mm-hmm.
And there were reports that Donald Trump was watching what was happening, and he was just completely elated. And he was so happy. And look, I voted for Joe Biden. And the reason why I voted for Joe Biden is because I knew Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. So I held my nose and I voted for Biden, even though I think he's corrupt, and even though I think he's a servant of Wall Street and a warmonger. And yesterday, no, not yesterday, on the 6th, I was thinking to myself, just as bad as Joe Biden is, he wouldn't have done something like this, you know?
Yeah.
And to think that these Trump supporters, they're so crazy that they tried to overthrow the US government because they lost an election.
And they thought they had the right to do it. They thought they were empowered. That's the gag.
Yeah, and like, what these people need to understand is this country isn't yours.
Okay.
It never belonged to you. It never has, and it never will. You guys are traitors. And the fact that there were people there that were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence."
What?
Yeah. There were people who were storming the Capitol chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," because he wouldn't overturn the will of the people and say that Trump won the election when in fact he didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pence is what? The vice president, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the vice president. And to think that the vice president of the United States was fearing for his life and hiding under his desk from his own president's supporters.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's unreal. That's so unreal. First of all, I didn't even think Mike Pence was gonna like go the way he went, right? I didn't think he was gonna announce that Biden won. I didn't think that was gonna happen, let's be honest. And then he did, and I was very surprised, let's be honest.
Yeah, like I was somewhat expecting him to say that Trump won, but at the same time, like it really was a no-win situation for him, because Mike Pence really wants to run for president in 2024. And if Mike Pence had said Trump won the election, you're on the record as being against democracy.
Mm.
And if he did say Biden won the election, now he's on the record for being against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And now the MAGA people think that he broke with Trump when he did what he constitutionally had to do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and just to think that, like, one last point, and then I'll pass it on to you. That all of the Democrats who keep saying that, oh, we need to compromise with the Republicans. Do you really want to compromise with these people who stormed the Capitol, who said hang Mike Pence, who tried to overturn the will of the people and basically install Donald Trump as a dictator? Do you really want to work with Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and all these people, all these senators who were trying to overturn a democracy, essentially?
Yeah.
Here's what I think needs to happen. And I don't say this lightly. I really don't. The 25th Amendment needs to be invoked immediately. Trump's cabinet needs to remove him from office. He needs to be charged with domestic terrorism. He needs to be arrested. He needs to be barred from ever holding public office ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the members of Congress, the 2/3 of the Republican members of the House who supported what he did, and the 8 Republican senators that supported what he did, need to be removed from Congress. And all of the Democrats who say that we need to compromise with these people have to be primaried from the left.
Okay. I agree completely. Completely.
Anything less is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Yep. Anything less shows that what happened is totally okay and that the American democracy is a fucking failure. And I don't think that should happen.
Yeah.
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 No, fuck no.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just absolutely distressing and heartbreaking, but completely predictable.
Yeah. And I think that's all that can be said. And then that, and of course, like, let's keep fighting.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I was just Googling like the 25th Amendment and everything you were just talking about so I could like be up to date. But here we are.
For those of you listening who don't know, the 25th Amendment is this thing that says that if a majority of the president's cabinet says that the president does not have the mental capability to exercise his duties as president, he can be removed from office, and the vice president will then serve as acting president.
Thank you for sharing that with our listeners. I don't feel so alone.
And basically, the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Pelosi, they said that if Pence doesn't agree to invoking the 25th Amendment, the House is going to impeach Donald Trump again. And yes, he has less than 2 weeks left in office, but it's to set a precedent that the president of the United States can't incite domestic terrorism and get away with it.
Which is what we need. Oh my freaking God.
If we establish that the president of the United States can incite a riot and incite people to storm the Capitol and make members of Congress fear for their lives, I mean, then we live in a banana republic. We can't establish that precedent.
What's a banana republic? Real quick.
Here's what a banana republic is. It's basically, it comes from a coup that the CIA did in Nicaragua and Guatemala because the US wanted to get Nicaragua and Guatemala's banana supply from the Chiquita Banana Company in Nicaragua. So they overthrew the democratically elected governments in Nicaragua and Guatemala so the US government could get their hands on cheap bananas.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are terrible.
Yeah. And this actually brings me to a point that the damage that this does to America's reputation is potentially irreversible. Because right now, everybody in the world, all of these world governments are talking about this attempted coup that happened in America. So when Biden gets in there on January 20th, I mean, what's to guarantee that anyone ever takes the US seriously? Because, like, we just have, like, 30 to 40% of the population is institutionalizable. And we have a major political party that is on the record as saying that they don't believe in democracy.
Wow. Half of me is thinking, like, is that so bad that they don't take us seriously? Like, would the United States be able to reign as much terror as it has on so many countries if people don't take us seriously? Like, I don't know.
Half of the terror we rain on other countries is like we invaded Iraq and Iraq never attacked us, never killed a single US citizen.
Right. And then what you said about Nicaragua, just for some fucking bananas? Let's go. Let's go. It's not that deep. Like, that was just upsetting. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It's just completely atrocious that this happened.
Yeah. Yes. Well, my stories kind of center around this some more. So if you want to, like, I don't know, do your stories? Because if not, we can take a break from this shit and move on to something else.
Yeah. So my second story is basically that the election in Georgia that just happened. Oh my God.
I love it. No, keep going, keep going.
So because we had this insurrection essentially
Yeah.
it took away attention from the fact that on the very same day, the Democrats won back the Senate.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we have the Senate composition is going to be 50-50 with Vice President Kamala Harris breaking the tie. So we now have two Democratic senators from Georgia, which is huge. And one thing that actually really inspired me is a tweet from Senator-elect Warnock, that he said that basically his mother picked cotton when she was a kid, and when she was 82 years old, she picked her son to be the next US Senator from Georgia. And that's just absolutely beautiful.
Yes, sir.
And and they like Ossoff and Warnock, they aren't as progressive as I'd like them to be. But I mean, there's no doubt that they are going to be way, way better than Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue.
Okay.
Which is why, like, literally everyone who is left of center should have wanted the Democrats to win. And even if you're not convinced by that argument that, like, for as centrist as they are, they're better than Loeffler and Perdue, I have one more fun fact that might change your mind, because now that the Democrats are in the majority in the Senate, do you know who is chairman of the Senate Budget Committee?
No. Who is it?
Bernie.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
I'm serious. Bernie Sanders is chairman of the Senate Budget Committee,
Let's
which means
go.
that he will now have more leverage to push Biden left than he has literally ever had.
Wow.
He has more power, or he will, on January 20th, he will have more power than he has literally ever had if he chooses to use it.
And I know he will. He better. I wonder if this is like the plan all along, you know? Like he knew who can win the presidency, so he was like, let's go for this spot.
Yeah.
I like that if it is. Either way it goes, I fucking love that. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's amazing. But also, there is one thing that we need to be aware of. That because the Senate is now 50-50, that means that the most important senator in America right now, or on January 20th, is going to be Joe Manchin. And the reason why is Joe Manchin is a Democratic senator from West Virginia, which is a state that Trump won overwhelmingly. I think it was like 30 to 40 points margin of victory. So he has this thing that he's a Democrat, but kind of votes with Republicans the overwhelming majority of the time. Like, because he has this whole shtick where he says, like, I'm a West Virginia Democrat, which means that I agree with Republicans. And there was, I don't know why he even pretends to be a Democrat.
Okay.
But at one point, he voted with the Republicans 70% of the time.
Wow. Why
So
doesn't he just become a fucking Republican,
I
bro?
don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
I genuinely don't know. So basically, because the Senate composition is 50-50, we will only be able to get left-wing change insofar as Joe Manchin allows it to happen,
Mm.
which he won't. So we need to pressure him.
Hmm.
And basically, Joe Manchin is the new Susan Collins,
I don't
because
know.
Susan Collins is considered the most moderate Republican senator, where she's a Republican senator from a blue state, Maine. So like every now and then she votes against Trump.
Oh, okay.
Um, so basically, all eyes are on Joe Manchin right now. So if you're listening to this, call his office every day, pressure him to do the right thing. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So my story was also about the Georgia election, and like I just think that it's so amazing that they won the state, and that now we're at like 50-50, we own the Senate. And I think it is tricky with Joe Manchin, of course, being there, but the fact that we are here is really, it's just something to appreciate for the moment at least, and then see where it goes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that Bernie is chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's absolutely incredible.
it's
Like,
exciting.
yeah, he has more power than he has literally ever had. And he will have significant leverage to push Biden left if he chooses to use it.
And let's hope he does use it. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
let's hope he does. And honestly, I I hope he does, but like Bernie's kind of weak, let's be real. And, I mean, like I remember I was watching like this snippet from this Trump rally where he said Bernie Sanders is the greatest loser he's ever seen because like he can get his ass kicked and he'll just go right along with whatever they want him to do. Like he's not totally wrong there. I said it. It's funny
Oh,
because he's not totally wrong.
exactly, he's not at all. That's
Because like Bernie's problem from the very beginning is that he's way too nice.
yeah.
Like, I mean, part of the reason why he got his ass kicked in the primary was he started every single debate answer with Joe Biden's my friend. I'm not going to criticize Joe. Yeah.
I get the nuance he's making, but that's not something he should have. That wasn't
Yeah.
important to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bernie, let's do better.
Yeah, exactly. But now he has the opportunity to do better. And the fact that he now has this position of power is unequivocally a good thing. Unequivocally a good thing. Any closing thoughts on that story?
Uh, no. Well, my closing thought will be like the transition into my topic, because I literally had the same thing. Like Georgia winning is incredible, and it's so wild that it happened on the same day as the insurrection. And I don't think that was coincidence. Let's be honest. I really think that was used as a diversionary tactic, but I don't have any proof for that, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But the fact that it happened on the same day and within that like whole crazy week, it just like poses this question. And it poses the question of whether America is in the throes of a hopeful and historic reinvention, careening towards a hopeful and historic reinvention based on like the Georgia elections, or is it creating towards civil violence based on the insurrection at the fucking Capitol? Or is both happening simultaneously? And I genuinely believe that both is happening simultaneously. And I'm sincerely hoping that the historic reinvention is what's gonna like end up on top, right? So like both things are happening at the same time, but hopefully we can curb the civil violence and then bring up the historic reinvention. And in this article, it says, is this a moment that historians will look back on and say, this is when Americans woke up and realized the danger to their democracy? Or just one more step towards America losing the hallmarks of democracy that we have come to accept over the past 200 years? And we don't know the answer yet, right? Because we're in the middle of it. So I'm sincerely hoping that this is the moment that we look back and say, hey, yeah, we need to wake the fuck up and protect democracy at all costs. We need to set these standards that the president can't incite a political, or the president can't incite violence because he didn't win. Like, the president isn't this all powerful dictator that can inflict domestic terrorism on its country just because he fucking wants to, right? Like, I think this is the moment that this becomes. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And what's so interesting to me is that, like, this comes right off the heels of this big thing that was happening in left-wing circles. That I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's Force the Vote.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah. So basically, Force the Vote is this hashtag, this movement that was created by left-wingers who said that they wanted the members of the squad, which are the 8 most left-leaning members of Congress, to leverage their votes for Pelosi for Speaker of the House and vote no on Pelosi unless she commits to a floor vote for Medicare for all. And I support that in principle, but a lot of people were taking it a step further, and they were saying, when AOC, for example, voted for Pelosi, they were saying, oh, AOC is your enemy, AOC is controlled opposition, and AOC is the person who's keeping you from having universal health care. And I'm like, we literally have a fascist uprising happening right now that was orchestrated by the President of the United States, and you're saying that the biggest enemy right now is AOC? Are you kidding me? And literally, like, she like, AOC was asked about it in a tweet, and she said, she literally said, I'm barricaded in my office right now, fearing for my life. My number one priority is making sure we don't have a fascist takeover of America. And a lot of so-called progressives were making fun of her for that.
Wow. What?
Yeah. And like, here's the amazing fact. AOC has higher name recognition with Republicans than she does with Democrats. And the reason for that is not because they like her more, it's because they want to kill her.
Yeah, because she's a threat, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that we have so-called progressives saying that, oh, because AOC won't leverage her vote for Pelosi in exchange for a floor vote on Medicare for all, that means she's the enemy. That this idea that people have that, like, oh, AOC not leveraging her vote for Medicare for all means that she's the enemy and she's corrupt. And first of all, no, she's not. And the reason why I know she's not, is she actually did get something in exchange for her vote for Pelosi. She got them to repeal PAYGO, which is a rule that the House um, passed in 2018 that said that any proposal has to be revenue neutral, which means that if someone proposes Medicare for all, for example, that would raise government spending, they would have to offset that elsewhere by either like cutting Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid, basically. So PAYGO made any sort of progressive change impossible. Medicare for all didn't even come up for a vote because of PAYGO. The Green New Deal didn't come up for a vote because of PAYGO. And AOC got Nancy Pelosi to get rid of PAYGO.
Like for good. Like it can't come back.
For good.
Oh, fucking right. Okay, yeah.
So she did leverage her vote. And just because she didn't leverage her vote for the thing you wanted her to leverage her vote for, doesn't mean she's the enemy, especially when there are fucking fascists storming the Capitol.
Okay. She's playing the long game here. Like, if she didn't do that, then they wouldn't even be able to have Medicare for all, right? So, like, let's look at the facts. She's playing the long game. The fact that she got PAYGO to go now means that there can be Medicare for all without having to take away from something else that needs money as well. So, yeah, just get it together, bro.
Yeah. So here's my point, and this brings it back to your point. This is a learning experience here.
Yeah.
This isn't funny anymore. We have fascists literally trying to overthrow the government, and we can't keep fighting among ourselves and acting like AOC is the real enemy.
That's the point. Yeah. That's the point. We need unity. And this reminds me, like, how you're saying how Democrats are weak. Excuse me. And I feel like, united we stand, divided we fall. So the more we fight within our party, the weaker we become, and the less we're able to tackle real issues like fascists storming the Capitol trying to form a coup. Like, we need to be united.
Yeah. Because, when we're actually not going to get Medicare for all, when we have a fascist takeover of the government.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, there's no way that after fascists take over the government, they'll be like, you know what, universal health care. That sounds like a good idea.
Right? Green New Deal. Let's take care of the planet now. Okay, we have control.
It's
wild. That's so wild.
Yeah. So we can't take our eyes off the ball here, is my point.
And that is a great, great, great point. And actually, it leads me to, so I've been following Gary Chambers on Instagram, and he's like this really cool, have you heard of him before?
I've heard the name. I don't know who he is.
Yeah. Okay, well, I lost it, but let me find the post. He's like this really cool, I don't know, activist. That's what he is. He's an activist, like, and a fighter, like genuine fighter from Louisiana, and he is like amazing. And what you just said, how we can't take the eyes off the ball, reminds me of this little post he had. And if I'm going to read it. Yeah. So it says, Republicans have spent the last decade showing us how little they care for bipartisan legislation. Democrats, Black voters have given you a gift, control of the White House, the Senate. Control of the White House, the House, and now the Senate. So he says, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, expand the court and balance the scales. We will have to amend and make will we have to amend and make legislation stronger? Yes. Will we consider the perspectives of all Americans? Yes. I don't know how you feel about that, but we'll see. Now is the time for us to go forward with intention to be about the work of justice. We won't be able to blame a Republican Senate on no change. We won't be able to point fingers at AOC. Let me also be clear, Black folks in key cities in this country showed up to deliver these victories. So Black folks must be a priority in what takes place in Washington. These majority Black cities need major investment, which is so true. If Democrats want to expand their Southern tent, now is the time to do it. Show Southern Black voters that you'll deliver for Georgia and prioritize the Blackest states in America, because Black folks have proven they'll vote against hate, bigotry, and for progress. Let us not be shy or afraid to fight in these next few years, because the future of the legislature is up in the air again in 2022. That's just like next year. If you want to expand that lead in the Senate and the House, we have to serve people some justice. And then he said he plans to join them in DC to fight to see it happen. So I guess he's going to run for Senate, which is incredible. But yeah. It just, you talking about how we have to be united just reminded me, like, there is so much at stake here, and there's so much that we have to fight for, that we can fight for now that we have this power.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Because I say this all the time, that like Democrats have this thing where like they're always trying to color within the lines and follow like Senate procedure, and like there's this really good metaphor that I think explains how Washington works really well. That it's Democrats and Republicans are playing a board game, and the Republicans say, screw this, and set the house on fire. And as the house is catching fire, Democrats are still sitting there planning their next move in the board game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the dynamic. Republicans are playing rugby and Democrats are playing hungry hippos. So yeah, we need to deliver a working class agenda that actually helps regular people, the working class, people of color, poor whites, everyone. We need a working class message and a working class agenda, starting with $2,000 stimulus checks for everyone in the country.
$600? Bro, $600?
Like literally, there was a time when Congress was debating a stimulus bill without stimulus checks.
How?
Yeah, like, because here's the thing: the stimulus negotiations have played out like a telenovela, basically. It's insane, because for a long time they were discussing a stimulus bill with no stimulus checks. And then Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley came out and said, no, we are going to demand $1,200 checks for everyone in the country. And then they were met halfway and they settled on $600 checks. And then Trump came along and says, I don't want $600, I want $2,000. And then the Democrats passed it in the House, and McConnell killed it. And McConnell killed it because we didn't have the votes in the Senate to get it passed. And now we have the votes. Now, I mean, it's kind of up in the air if we have the votes, because Joe Manchin says that he doesn't support $2,000.
I want these people who vote for our fucking livelihood to have to deal, like, I want him to have to be in this position to where he is only given $600 to they're clueless.
Yeah.
They're clueless. They have no idea what it's like. That's what it is. They're
Yeah,
clueless.
like one thing that I've always said and I've always believed is that there will not be justice in this world until politicians and their families are required by law to only use public services.
Mm. Mm.
So
Mm.
like I support a bill that says if you are an elected official, you by law you have to your kids have to go to public school. You have to use public transportation. You have to go to a government-run hospital. You have to basically use public services by law.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like Joe Manchin and the Republicans who say like, oh, $2,000 is too much, like $600 is enough to survive on. First of all, $600 is like the only reason why they chose $600 is because, like, I mean, this is my guess, but $600 is an amount of money that rich people think poor people think is a lot of money.
Bro. Bro. Oh.
Literally, though.
Wow. Yo, $600 won't even pay my rent. Like, it won't even pay my mom's mortgage for the month. Like, let's be honest.
Like, it's insane. And like $600, it was chosen probably because it's what they think poor people think is a lot of money. It objectively isn't. And
that's
like,
a disconnect. Like, why? Why
yeah.
is that what they think if they are serving us? Supposed to.
Like it reminds me of like this thing that Ellen DeGeneres did on her show where Bill Gates was a guest on her show and she had him guess the price of several like grocery store products and like she was like, oh, how much does this box of Cheerios cost? And he was like, $30. Completely out of touch.
Oh
Like,
my God.
like if you ask a senator or a congressman what the minimum wage is, they'll say like what, like $30 an hour, $45 an hour.
You wish. Are you? The sad thing is that I know you're not even playing. Like, I know you're dead. Like, I know you're very serious right now, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
And these are the people that are voting to not raise minimum wage, and they don't even know what minimum wage is.
Do you know what's the state minimum wage in Georgia?
I don't.
$5.05.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The state minimum wage in Georgia is $5.05. Now that Democrats took over the Senate, Manchin willing, of course, we have the votes to increase the minimum wage to $15.
Yes.
I mean, it's a question if Manchin will support it, but in theory, we have the votes.
Yes. I like watched this video of this one man. He's like a I don't know, he rents out buildings and shit. And so, but he was so against like raising minimum wage. He said like, because once you raise minimum wage, then the cost of living is gonna go up even more. So right, like you raise minimum wage and then he's gonna have to raise his prices on rent, and then that's just gonna increase the money flowing into his pocket. And I wonder like, how do you feel about that? Like, what's your take on that
I mean,
thoughts?
cost of living has skyrocketed anyway, and the minimum wage has been 7.25 for what, like
Ever?
20 years?
That's fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the cost of college has gone up, rent has gone up, mortgages have gone up,
Car
price of
notes.
food has gone up, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the minimum wage is still 7.25. So like might as well raise it. Like,
Honest? Okay, yeah. No, I feel that way too. I just was wondering how you felt about what he said. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like all of these and one thing that like a lot of people don't think about is if if raising the minimum wage supposedly means the price of everything's going to go up, why doesn't that happen when politicians increase their own salaries?
Ooh. First of all, why can politicians increase their own salaries in the first place?
I don't
That's
know.
the
I don't know. I
question.
don't know.
That's the question.
Cuomo in New York almost doubled his salary.
How? Why? How? Why?
I don't know.
And
It's
just to make sure, right, like it's taxpayers' money.
yeah, it's taxpayer money. And here's the thing, the stimulus checks, all a stimulus check is the government giving you back your own money that you pay in taxes. So it's not like any new money is being created. They're just giving you back your own money.
That's fucking wild. That's wild.
And for a while they were debating a stimulus bill with no stimulus checks.
How does that work? How? Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
I mean, it's all part of the legalized bribery and legalized corruption system we have in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have um, corporations that give unlimited campaign contributions, and then it's a I scratch your back, you scratch mine incentive. Because think about it like this. When your local bodega goes under, does the government go in there and bail them out, give them like $1 million so they'll be funded forever? No. Why not? Because the bodega didn't pay their bribes to the government.
The money they bail companies out with is taxpayers' money?
Yep.
Oh, fuck. No, baby.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like ExxonMobil gets like millions of dollars in subsidies every year from the US government. Every year. It's insane. So,
Is it
no, go
like it
ahead.
doesn't even need that? Is that even like necessary to keep the
No.
company running? Okay, it didn't fucking think
No.
so.
I
Didn't
mean,
fucking think so.
we have our military budget is larger than the next 13 countries combined.
Mm,
Like
mm.
we spend so much money on the military, and Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water.
Still to this day.
Yeah,
Oh, that
like
upsets me.
like people who say like, "Oh, we can't afford Medicare for all. We can't afford a Green New Deal." But we can afford this gargantuan military spending.
Okay.
It just doesn't make any sense. But in a way it does because of the military-industrial complex.
Yep, and the money that it's bringing and the
We've
terror.
talked about before.
But yeah, just like, yeah. And then money is going towards police, right? They have a lot of money as well. That's not a part of the military industrial complex either. That's like something separate.
Defund the police.
Literally. And as I was like looking at these stories, one of them was like, oh my God, it was some bullshit, but it was thought provoking. Anyway, it was like how we have fought to like reduce the violence or police violence against protesters, and then how like they were so lenient with the insurrectionists, how that was like a damned if they do, damned if they don't kind of situation. And I don't think that there's any, I think that's bullshit. Like there's no comparison there, right? Like you have literal terrorists terrorizing. That deserves violence, right? Like that deserves police force. That deserves police brutality, if you will. Yeah, because they're terrorists.
Yeah, like I saw this this quote online that I don't know who said it. I wish I could give credit to the original person who said it. But it was, we're not asking you to shoot them like you shoot us. We're asking you to not shoot us like you don't shoot them.
That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't shoot innocent people. That's it.
There we go. And that's such an easy concept. I don't get why it's so hard.
It should be an easy concept, but like a lot of cops are either consciously or subconsciously, a lot of cops are white supremacists.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we saw like the cops taking selfies with the terrorists and just like letting them in.
Like it was okay. Yeah, and then that goes on like the history of cops, right? Like sheriffs were made to catch slaves.
Yeah.
There were no cops before slaves were free. There was no jail. There were no prisons. There were no like prison industrial complexes. Is that a thing, right?
It is.
That's a real, yeah. There was no money in it. There was until slaves were free. So that's literally the foundation of their existence.
Yeah. Yeah. The history of policing in America is hand in hand with the history of white supremacy.
They're brothers. They're like twins. They're like best friends. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say twins, but they're like cousins.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I can see that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, just back to the police. I feel like we've talked about this before, right? Like defund the police and how it's not the same. Okay, yeah. I just want to make this clear. I still believe that there should be systems in place, like a lot of the things that the cops do are necessary, right? Because we've evolved, we've changed, we've grown as a society, so like our system should grow and change, but I just think it should be different. Honestly, let's be real.
Tanks.
Say it again.
The police don't need tanks.
Like, what are they? The military? Yes, they don't need tanks. They don't need to use brute force. I don't think they each should even like carry guns. Like, I only think certain police should carry guns.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, in the UK, police don't carry guns.
Let's see how well that's working out for them.
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. I know they have their problems too, but like, yeah.
I mean, the Prime Minister of the UK is an absolute moron, so.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. But that also got me thinking earlier when you were talking about how the majority of the Republican Party were the insurrectionists, or, like, felt this way. I feel like, because I know I know a few Republicans, right? And they disagree with, with the actions of those folks. And so I feel like maybe there should just be a complete uh, regeneration, revival, new, like complete, like we should just completely change the parties, right? Because not everyone who we should just we should just completely change the parties. That's what I'm saying. We should change what it means to be or change Republicans, or like have it mean something like I don't know how it would look, but
Yeah, but also at the same time, I saw this poll that, like, if I'm not mistaken, a plurality of Republicans, 45%, supported what happened at the Capitol,
that's disgusting.
against only 43% who said it wasn't the right thing to do.
That's disgusting. How do we get those people and change their minds, or or
Honestly, I think that those people are too far gone. Like I think like they're probably the people that voted for Trump because he said he wanted to ban all Muslims, or because because of the racist stuff he said. It wasn't the people who voted for him because of like economic anxiety or whatever.
yeah.
So like I would say those people, like, it isn't even worth getting.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts?
No, just that you left some food for thought.
So on to your last story of the day, or are you out of stories?
I am out of stories. I kind of
Okay.
combined them all together when I was
Okay.
talking. So,
So,
well,
to end off our show today, there's this story that's kind of old that I wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week because it was just too new and we couldn't get to it. So, there's this COVID data scientist in Florida, right? Her name is Rebecca Jones. And she was fired from her job working for the Florida government because she refused to manipulate COVID data to make it appear as though there were less COVID cases and less COVID deaths than there actually were. And they fired her because of that. And she started a website with the actual COVID numbers and the actual COVID data, sans manipulation. And the Republican governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, literally sent police officers to raid her home. And they barged into her home. They arrested her. They pointed guns at her two children, all because she refused to manipulate COVID data.
what?
Yeah, yeah.
What? What? Okay, so like, what happens now? Is she still?
She's like I think like she's been doing a couple interviews. She says she's going to sue the government of Florida, which is
Rightfully so.
great, which is great. And like it also like it remind like when the there were the riots at the Capitol, it reminded me of that story, because like this shouldn't be happening in America. Like, I hate to sound like one of those corny patriots, but we're supposed to stand for something more than that. We're supposed to stand for something better than that. We're not supposed to be the country that raids the homes of scientists because they wanted to tell the truth.
Okay. And like the thing, like all of this is showing what we need to fix. All of this is showing what America actually is. Like, this isn't who or what America should be, but it definitely is what it is, and it's showing all the things that we need to fucking fix with this country.
Yeah, like a lot of people who say like, oh, this isn't who we are. I mean, it kind of is who we are. Let's be real. Like, I mean, there was this point that John Oliver did in his last show, that he said that Kamala Harris will now be vice president. She's going to be the first woman vice president, the first Black vice president, the first Asian vice president, and the second person of color that we've sent to the White House in the past 12 years. But we also elected a white supremacist in between them. And all of that is kind of who we are.
Okay. Yes, we are both, and all of that is America, and we just need to figure out what America do we want to grow, I guess.
Yeah. What America is gonna win, basically.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it comes down to. Wow,
yeah. Do we want to live in a country that storms the Capitol and arrests scientists for telling the truth? Or do we want to live in a country that makes real the ideals of America? You know?
Right. Or the country that doesn't do that shit. I think that do we want to be the country that does or the country that doesn't? Like, I want to be the country that doesn't. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, it's we need to live up to the best of what we can be, is my point.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on that note, we will see you next time. Hopefully with a more uplifting episode.
Yeah.
But until then, see you next time, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.